right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here once again with the interactive interview here on WrestlingEpicenter.com, and we're going to hit the ground running as we're being joined right now by former TNA knockout Traci Brooks. Tracy, are you with us?
Hi, guys. How are you?
Doing great. This is probably, I think, your 5th or 6th appearance on the show, so...
God, are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Well, I mean, you haven't done many interviews of late, so I'm glad, honestly, that you agreed to sit down with us, because it's a treat for us every time you come on.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I wasn't doing interviews for a little bit, so I was actually getting my green card, so I was kind of lying low for a little bit.
How fun is it to deal with the government?
It's not.
Trust me, my wife comes from the UK, and I deal with it a lot.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Then you know exactly what I was talking about. It's like 4 months of not doing anything, and yeah, it was a little bit of hell, but it's all over with, and I'm all good to go now.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Now, is that partially why you left TNA? Did that have anything to do with it, or what happened?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
No, it just happened to be. My contract was actually up in June this year, 2010. So my visa was actually up too. So, but yeah, no, that wasn't why though.
That had nothing to do. Okay, good. Well, I was just kind of curious because I know the whole thing with Angelina that happened. So.
Yeah, no, it was. You can, if you have your work visa and you apply for your permanent residency card, you can actually keep working. But it was just. Mine is just, a long, confusing story, which I'm sure you know with your wife being from the UK.
Exactly, yeah.
I just feel sorry for anyone that has to go through that process.
Exactly, but I think it gives you...
WWE guys had some problems, too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I heard about that.
Yeah, a couple of them actually decided to go back and wait it out, so...
You know what, everyone just thinks when you marry an American that it's just, you're all right and ready to go, and it's such a pain in the ass. I mean, we just come from Canada, and we've had so many problems. I mean, a lot of us have had problems, and it's just, it's one of those things, but you have to stick it out, because if you love the business, you have to do what you have to do, right?
Exactly. But if you really think about it, that works well for, like, sitcom storylines where you can you do that, but in real life, it don't work that way, yeah.
Honestly, it's like I have a whole new respect. I mean, you try to do things legally in the right way and stuff like that, and you get frustrated because there's people that don't do it the legal way and have no problems. Yeah, but... Man,
Tracy, I live in Arizona, so you...
Oh, do you really? Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, you guys are getting screwed.
You need not say more.
Yeah.
And it's not a racist thing. It really isn't. But if you go through the process and you know what the headaches are, and for those who don't go through the legal way and get, have to pay all that money out and all that effort out, you kind of just like, well, you know what? If they do get legal status, then I want a refund.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is you spend a lot of money and then you can't travel for... What happened with me, too, is that I couldn't get my travel papers, because usually when you apply for your work visa, I think it's 90 days later, you can get your travel papers, which means you can go on a honeymoon or leave the country. Well, because of the Arizona law passing, everyone in the world is getting their legal status now, thank God, but I didn't get my travel papers. So I was stuck for 4 months without being able to leave or go home or anything. So it was a little frustrating, but oh well, who cares?
Yeah, very good.
It's all over.
Exactly. So there's been a lot that's gone on since the last time we talked to you. I think the last time we actually talked to you was back when you were with Robert Roode.
Oh, my God. 2007, 8?
2007. That's right, yeah.
Gosh.
It's been a while. So
that was a great angle, by the way.
I love that angle. One of my favorites. One of my favorites.
And, of course, we have to kick off with something that I haven't heard you talk too much about. And, again, if you're uncomfortable talking about it a lot, I don't want to put you in a bad spot, but... let me say this. I'd choose you over Marge Simpson any day.
Oh, well, thanks. Well, the funny thing is that what people don't realize is when Playboy approached me, it was to be a celebrity, do a celebrity pictorial. That does not mean you get the cover at all. It never has meant you got the cover. That is totally still up to Hugh Hefner. When Farrah Fawcett died, she'd done Playboy when she was 50, and she'd done it a long time ago, too. He wanted to honor her, and all the subscriptions up into my month, which was November, was already done. So I basically got bumped for Farrah Fawcett, who was a celebrity pictorial that month. So the fact that I got bumped for Farrah Fawcett, who's a sex icon, I really can't complain.
Exactly, right.
So, yeah, and everyone's like, you got bumped for Marge Simpson? I'm like, no, actually, because Farrah didn't get the cover either, so... Just because, and that's the thing is, at one point I felt like showing everyone my contract, and this is my Playboy contract, and I was never promised a cover. You never are promised a cover, and but then I was like, you know what? Screw everybody else. I did Playboy. And I had 95 million views, and I was one of the most downloaded girls for Playboy last year. And you know what? I have 44 pictures out of the thing that I get to sell for the rest of my life. And, you know, at the end of the day, you got to just say, screw everybody else. I got to do it and shoot with Playboy. And it was this, you know, it was 3 days of nothing but being treated like a princess.
So no bitterness and no anger at all, huh?
Oh, my God, not at all.
Good.
Not at Playboy at all either. I mean, Playboy, it's Farrah Fawcett.
It's Farrah, exactly, yeah.
It's Farrah Fawcett.
I mean, there wasn't a guy who grew up in the 70s that didn't have her on
or
the wall.
Girl wanted to be her. It was, and that's the thing is it was good for TNA too because as everyone knows, magazines don't do, you know, they're not doing as well anymore because of the .coms.
Right.
Well, Playboy subscription is down. I don't want to say how much, but I want to say like 3 million. Where their .com actually has 6 million subscribers a month. So in TNA actually got more publicity out of being in .com than they did being in the magazine.
I was just about to ask you that because one of the biggest things when I knew WWE was taking over back in the day was when, you know, my friend's dad, I mean, my friend, you know, we were college age at that point, and even my friend's dad was coming over and saying, "Oh, man, can you get me that Playboy with Sable in it?" I was like, oh, God, I can tell they're going to take over now. And, I mean, I guess it was really good publicity for them. Now,
oh, absolutely.
So
but that was also, too, when Playboy was like, when did Sable do it?
98?
98?
Then .com wasn't as big as it is now.
No,
like,
not even close.
I don't want to say the number, but I want to say it's 3 million that the subscribers are on Playboy a month compared to the 6 million that Cyberclub does .com. 6 million a month. So, and I was already in the magazine too. They actually put me in the magazine for an advertisement for TNA. So, which was cool. I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, everyone's like even my friends were coming up to me going, "I'd be pissed off." I'm like, really? Because the check cleared, and it's still the same amount of money, and it was 3 days of them treating me like a princess. And how many girls get to say they shot with Arnie Freitag, who shot like the girls next door, and is one of the main photographers for Playboy.
Wow. Very
so yeah.
cool.
And I'm, 44 pictures instead of 8 pictures. So sometimes I get mad when people try to oh, you got screwed or no, you know what? No, you can think that. People can think that. But you know what? At the end of the day, my very nice check cleared, and I
think it has a lot to do with the people still adjusting to the fact that really magazines. I couldn't tell you the last time I bought a wrestling magazine, and I used to buy them all the time. So. Well,
that's the thing is now they're only down to, one magazine, wrestling magazine now?
Yeah, I think they used to be like WOW and Pro Wrestling Illustrated and all those, and now there's just, I think it's WWE magazine, and is that it?
I think
PWI.
PWI still goes, yeah.
But you know what, I mean, there's people, too, in the Playboy office that told me that they didn't want, there's a new publisher that took over, and they didn't want wrestlers anymore, and so, you know what, I hope that's not true. I hope that's not the route they go. I hope they do, if WWE does go, back that way, that they do. Because, I mean, it's a great experience for any girl. And the fact that a wrestler's there, it's cool.
Exactly. And, I mean, a lot of wrestling fans obviously sought that out as well.
Yeah.
Exactly, which is obviously the intended, crossover.
Exactly.
All righty. So
I have a kind of a silly question here. One last Playboy question. Did you get to meet Hugh Hefner? And if you did, how cool is he?
No, because I went to Santa Monica to the studios there.
Oh, okay.
So, but it was I met everyone. I mean, it was the coolest thing. Like you can't, they treat you like first class limo service, like everything you could ever imagine. Like it was actually the next day was actually my birthday.
Oh,
so
wow.
The last day of shooting, they actually the whole entire set, but they bought me In-N-Out Burger and cupcakes, and they just treated you honestly, it's sad because I don't ever want to do another photo shoot again because just the way you were treated and the way they shot you, and it was just incredible.
So they gave you the In-N-Out Burger after the shoot?
Oh, no, during the shoot.
Oh, during the shoot, okay. I would think that'd be something that you wouldn't
I did.
Before.
It was my last day. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I guess, we want to talk a little bit about your last days in TNA since we have touched base with you on everything up until that point, and it seemed like they were really leading towards pushing you around when that came out, and it just, I think part of the reason why people say that you were screwed, even if that wasn't the case, is that it seemed like they should have pushed you at that point because that was coming out the exact same time that Bound for Glory was really being promoted. Did you,
That's the only thing I was disappointed about in TNA was, and no hard feelings with them at all. I mean, I love TNA and they're my family, But honestly, that was the only thing I was disappointed because Playboy did put in the magazine a full-page ad with me in the TNA shirt saying, come to Bound for Glory, Irvine, California, and gave the date to see knockout Playboy model Tracy Brooks. And TNA didn't include me in the pay-per-view, so it kind of hurt. I couldn't figure out why, because there was 6 million emails going out every week to these subscribers saying Tracy Brooks, TNA knockout. And it was a huge publicity for TNA, but I don't know if TNA thought, because I didn't get in the magazine, that it wasn't as big, and realistically it was bigger than if I was in the magazine. So
yeah, like I said, it might just be that old view of, oh, well, the magazine is what people buy, and if that's not the case.
just you know what, miscommunication too, and things like that, and it's just, you know what, I mean, you just one of those things that's miscommunication, and we should have, you know, maybe dealt a little clearer on that whole situation, but I mean, they started putting me with Main Event Mafia, and then all of a sudden, Main Event Mafia was no more, and
right.
So.
Yeah, that kind of fizzles. Yeah. So now that your visa is all sorted out, what's the plan? What are we going to be doing?
I'm not. You know what? Right now, I'm busier than ever doing independents and conventions and stuff like that, and I'm honestly having a lot of fun. I always say I'm like the happiest pro wrestler there is right now.
Really?
I have no politics, no bullshit, no.
Really? And
no
you're
like
in demand
backstabbing.
Too, which is good.
Well, it's been fun, and I've actually got to, you know, if I wanted to take a weekend off, and so it's been a lot of fun, but you know, you never know how long that lasts, and you never know where I'll end up.
Exactly. Is it harder for a woman to go on the independent scene than a man, or?
I don't think harder. Maybe. Well, you know what? When I first started wrestling back in 2000, and like when I was on the road in 2001 with Gail, It was a lot easier because it was just kind of like Gail, Kim, myself, and Beth Phoenix.
Right.
And we were kind of like the only girls around Canada, and even Beth around the New York area. And now it just seems like everywhere you go, there's 1,000 women wrestlers.
Right.
And there's a lot of girls that are willing to do a lot more for cheaper and go through tables and, you know, get color and do all this stuff. But, you know, you get what you pay for kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
And, too, with a lot of people like Mickey James. And, I mean, I'm dying to work Mickey because I've actually, the time we've been together on the Independents and in TNA, we never worked. So, but I mean, the people that are getting kind of released from WWE, you know, you have competition with that, too, but...
Yeah, I actually have a story about that, too.
Oh, no.
Real quick story about that. It's just a quick thing. I actually got contacted because we do a booking site as well on the side, and it's you know, something that we haven't done much with of late. And I got contacted when Mickey was going to do the IWA Puerto Rico event.
Uh-huh.
And they said, well, you know, they said to me, you represent a lot of people, and I don't represent you, but they said, you know, what female on the independent scene would be good for Mickey? And I said, you know, I'm honest with you, the best one I could think of that's available would be Tracy Brooks.
Aw, thank you.
Well, they didn't happen, but still.
Well, actually, because it was the time I was supposed to actually go to Trinidad, WWC, with Carlos Colon's group.
Oh, good.
But because of my work visa, or my permanent residency issue, I couldn't leave the country, obviously, so I never got to go. But I was actually supposed to work Mickey there. I think ODB went.
ODB did go, yes, she did. I think it was an anniversary event or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it sucks because it was a good chance to go to Trinidad, and then they wanted me in Puerto Rico, too, but I couldn't, unfortunately, so. Yeah. But ODB is a good replacement.
Exactly. So you mentioned two people that you started with, and we know your roots from previous interviews, and for those who want to hear them, they can check out our archives at WrestlingEpicenter.com/interviews. But you mentioned two of the people you started with were Beth Phoenix and Gail Kim, and of course they're tearing it up in WWE. And
yes, I'm so happy for them.
All right. Well, of course, the next logical question is: any hopes or plans to follow suit?
Again, I mean, when you get into the wrestling business, you know, at the time there was no TNA around, and you know, I was to be, well, at the time was a WWF superstar, and you know, that's what you get into the business for. So, yeah, of course, I had live. You know, I said I wasn't interested, but at this time, I just, you know, I'm kind of just doing my thing and having fun, and as I said, you never know where I'll end up.
And you don't think anything silly like that incident with the Royal Rumble commercial when you brought them cookies, nothing like that?
Oh, no, God, no. They've forgotten about that, if they even cared about it.
I doubt they did anyway.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so did I.
All righty. Oh, man. So we got to ask you a couple of word associations before we let you go.
Okay.
All right. And then, of course, I did see on your MySpace page, Facebook page, that you're going to be appearing at the New York Comic-Con. Is that right? Coming up soon?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
That's a lie.
So there's a dude posting videos about the New York Comic-Con on your Facebook page, and you're not going to be there. Okay.
No, I think that was something to do with Christy, wasn't it?
Oh, okay.
Maybe, yeah. No, I was there a couple years ago.
Okay.
I'm going to be, this Saturday, I'm actually in South Bend, Indiana. I'm wrestling ODB for, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. I'm actually there for IAW, and then I'm actually wrestling, there's a promoter, it's WFX Wrestling. You can check it out at WFXWrestling.com. It's actually a promotion in Winnipeg that's been going, and people like former Billy Gunn are there, and there's a bunch of people. Davari's there.
Oh,
so, yeah, Charlie Haas is there. So I'm actually coming back to Canada September 17th, so I'm really excited about that.
Very cool, and there's a lot of promotions in Canada that are really making some noise. Actually, I just booked Demolition on an event that's happening up in...
I love Demolition.
Yeah, two nice guys, aren't they?
I love them.
Yeah, they're going to be working for Sylvan's company up in Montreal. There.
Montreal, yeah.
That's pretty cool. So a couple word associations for you, and I think you can pretty much guess in a nutshell what I'm going to say.
Okay.
How about Kazarian?
I can't describe that in one word.
You can just... Oh, man.
Soulmate.
There you go. How is he doing good? Everybody happy?
Yes, oh my God, he's so happy right now. I mean, honestly, to be in a group with Ric Flair and one of his best friends, AJ Styles, I mean, how could you not be happy?
That seems strange, because the news broke about you two, and then you were released, and I don't know, it didn't seem to make sense to me, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, and the thing is, I still keep in touch with TNA, and it's not so much the talent, because you always see the talent on the road, but it was more of the backstage guys like the Carpenters and the ring crew and stuff like that. I've been with them for 8 years. I mean, you become a family, and it was like I never got to say goodbye. And it kind of hurt. It didn't hurt. It's business, and, it was a blessing in disguise. You move on. But I never got to say goodbye to anybody. So, but, I mean, they all know I'm with them and stuff like that. So, and I wish them all well. But, I mean, talent you always see on the road.
Exactly.
You always run into talent.
There you go. And an opponent coming up here in the home of the Fighting Irish. How about ODB?
I can't.
I hate these. These are psychological exams, aren't they?
Just crazy, insane, amazing. A true friend to the end.
Pat, did you want to give her a few?
Sure. How about Awesome Kong?
Talented.
Very good. Very good. I don't want to push the button on that one, but oh man, that was a tough one when she got cut too. I mean,
yeah,
that kind of left the knockouts division with a hole in it.
Well, I mean, with Gail going the first time, and then and we recovered from that, we thought, and then it's just, I don't know what they're thinking, and I still don't know what they're thinking, and I just, I mean, ODB, Awesome Kong, Alyssa Flash, myself, it just seems like, I don't know, obviously we're not stupid, it seems like they're going in one direction with blondes, and that's fine. But wrestling fans like diversity, and obviously that was proven because our knockouts division had such diversity, and we were doing better than the divas, and so you need diversity in life.
Exactly. And me personally, I never liked blondes.
Well, and the funny thing is, if you ask 90%, of guys at a bar what you like better, they like brunettes, and they'd rather sit down and have a beer with just ODB than they would with a made-up Barbie doll.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So, but I just.
Well, here's hoping that hopefully down the line they'll bring in Mickey and that'll re-spark everything, and the ones that belong back there, like yourself and Mike.
It seems like WWE got rid of all the wrestlers too, and at one point, when they got rid of Gail and Jazz and Nydia and all those girls like years ago.
Yeah.
And it's like they kind of went, and not saying that the girls at TNA can't wrestle because they can, but it's just like you still need diversity, and how many times can we see the same girls?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
The worst thing that ever happened to a division, and everybody, one of the hot topics we discussed on the show many moons ago was why the WWE's cruiserweight division never worked. And I've spelled it out then, and I'll spell it out right now. When the only time you see a division is when a title's on the line, the division doesn't mean anything. Yeah. So that's why the knockouts are suffering.
Well, it's the same thing as they have this tag team division and they have no girls.
Exactly. Yeah.
So why have a tag team division? And the one tag team that was awesome, Sarah Rita and Taylor, not saying that, just like they were diverse and they were neat and they were like what TNA wanted as a women's tag team champion. They took the title off them and they split them up, and now I think I don't even know who has it now.
I couldn't even tell you.
Taylor and Hamada won them.
Oh, what? Well, I'm glad Hamada's back on TV. I'm glad she's on, because Hamada's amazing.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So is Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
Taylor's incredible. She's a good Canadian girl.
Absolutely, yeah. And she probably is dealing, well, I won't get that. But anyway, it's always great hearing about what's going on in your world. And how could fans keep up with you? What is your Facebooks and Myspaces and your, do you even still have the official website? I don't know my Facebook
link, but I don't have an official website, but I do have a Twitter account. It's the Tracy Brooks. And my eBay store where I sell, like, Warren event merchandise, and there's all my Playboy pictures for sale, anything like that, any pictures, is Tracy Brooks Direct to You. And that's my eBay store. And my Facebook, I have no clue what my link is to my Facebook.
I don't either. I just tell people Google my name and you'll find it. So.
There you go. I'm wearing a white outfit on it. There you go.
Yeah, you can't mistake you when you look. There you go. And I think the last question I have for you. A couple weeks ago, we had another Tracy on from the wrestling business, and that was Tracy Taylor, and she spelled it Tracii. And in the past, I'm pretty sure I asked you in an interview, and you said you spelled it with a Y.
My real name is spelled Tracy.
Ah, okay. I remembered asking you that, and then I saw the way you spelled it on your Facebook.
Tracy Taylor used to be in Deep South Wrestling.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
I believe so, yeah. I mean, she was around a while.
Yeah, brunette. She does a Hawaiian gimmick?
No, different one.
Oh,
the one who did, no, this is the one who is in Maryland and used to work with Missy on the Vixen site.
Oh, okay. No, Tracy Taylor, who works out of Atlanta, Georgia area. She used to be in Deep South Wrestling, is incredible.
She is an incredible worker, too.
Yeah, she is.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I will post a link up to your Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, and eBay store, and if there's ever anything you need us to promote, just give us a call or send us a message on either of those.
Thank you, guys. It's great catching up with you.
Always great catching up with you, Tracy. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
There is Tracy Taylor here on the Interactive Interview Wrestling Epicenter.com. Tracy Brooks, actually. Whoa, what's wrong with me? Different Tracy.
Sweet girl.
By the way, Nick's with us, too.
Yeah. The ever silent during interviews, Nick Knoll.
He is the interview phantom.
You know what it really is that number one, I still get nervous. Like I remember one time you mentioned my name to Sonny, and I wasn't even on the line, and I got bright red because I don't know, for some reason that embarrassed me. Like, especially when you have someone that I watched weekly at one point, like Tracy Brooks. And number two is I don't want to really interrupt. I don't want to jump in too soon and interrupt the guest. I don't.
You know what we used to do? Pat probably remembers this. Pat, remember we used to write the interviews? I used to write the questions out word for word and what we were going to ask, and I'd put a P for Patrick, and a C for Chuck, and an E for Eric. And then for me, I just didn't put anything, or I put a J. And it was just like, I don't know, to me it always seems so contrived. So even though I kind of do take over to some degree on the interviews, and I'm trying to work on that, to me it just seems so contrived a little bit to put, okay, you're going to ask this, and I'm going to ask that. And I remember with Edler...
On paper, that's a good idea. On paper, that's a good idea because nobody steps on anybody. But at the same time, it kind of makes the interview feel mechanical, if that makes any sense.
A lot of interviews I did with
we did.
Yeah.
Huh?
I was going to say, a lot of interviews we do with Edler. I remember there was so many times I used to have to go, Dan, do you want to take the next one?
Yeah.
Because it was like, you're up, asshole.
Well, I remember you and we did the interview with Andy Douglas, and that was a hell of an interview. I don't think we went in there with any questions. We just kind of winged it.
It's a catch-22 to some degree. You also, when you don't have we make notes before the interviews. We're not unprofessional, but when you don't have it scripted out, you kind of do. You might miss out on say, oh, I didn't ask that one, and I should have asked that one. But at the same rate, the flow is there. That should be there. And the camaraderie, the forced camaraderie of an interview, which is what it is to some degree. You get a little of that camaraderie going, and to where they trust you a little bit, so they know you're not going to ask anything stupid and things like that. So,
well, we had Lita on the air. We didn't ask her about any of the shit that happened in 2005. So,
and I'm using that to my advantage when I'm trying to get a few more interviews here, guys. And stay tuned.
Yeah, we're good boys.
We're good. I mean, she even talked about it a little bit during the interview, but we don't have to bring it up. That works for us, We don't have to. You don't have to go to Christy Canyon and ask what it was like to fuck Ron Jeremy. She'll just tell you.
Well, that's it. It worked out that's kind of like the trademark of this show, where a lot of the best interviews that you two have done have been the ones where it just winds up being you guys are talking for a couple hours, and that's when we get, stories like David Young punching Samoa Joe in the face.
That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorite interviews, and a lot of people don't remember that one. Maybe I'll have to put that one up on YouTube.
Yeah, you're really mastering that YouTube technology there.
I'm not going to go crazy with it. I want to use it to really promote this show and get as many people listening as possible. And I want to try to use because I figured it out. I've been pooping all over the guys who use YouTube, saying, oh, these losers, and they review shows they haven't even seen, and this, that, the other thing. And I'm realizing, you know what? These are the ones who actually give a damn. Maybe I shouldn't be crapping on them. Maybe I should be embracing them and bring them on. And if we have a difference of opinion, we can debate it on the air. I want Eric back on the show, too.
Oh, good luck with that.
Yeah, he hates me. He hates me because I made fun of him after a jet floss.
Yeah. Well, he probably hates me now, too.
Does he not call you every day now?
Well, what basically happened was that we were kind of doing stuff, and we were talking, and I defended TNA on something, and he said, you know what, you're a sap, and you're as bad as all the WWE fans you hate. Well, I said, okay, don't ever call me again.
Did he?
No, but he kind of, let's just say there's been a little other thing that happened that kind of pissed me off, and let's just say if he were to call me, I'd kind of be like, okay, really? Are you going to say the words, I'm sorry first?
Will you tell me in a PM later on?
Sure.
Okay, because I'm curious now. But if he's not
backstage drama.
Backstage?
I keep saying that's something we need to do. We need to, get everybody together, get as many people together that worked on this site as possible, and do, the rise and fall of the Wrestling Epicenter or something until
we haven't fallen yet, though.
What'd you say?
We haven't fallen.
That's true. But
I remember I used to call Walsh at 3 a.m. playing loud rap music and asking him what he would do if Francine died.
God,
This is your life, Matt Hoover.
Oh, boy.
Matt Hoover, I will be able to tell stories about that guy for the rest of my life, and I will thank him if I ever meet him.
He's on Facebook.
Are you fucking kidding?
I am not kidding you. I was on, guess who? Steve Carino's Facebook, checking something out because the Stro was talking about it, and Matt Hoover put a smiley face at the end of it, and I almost fell off my chair.
He's still alive.
He's still alive, and he's still sucking up to, of all people, Steve Carino. And it's like, what?
Oh, there's nothing wrong with liking Steve Carino.
Oh, he's a great work. Traci Brooks just sent us a message on Facebook. She says, thank you so much for the interview.
Aww. Aww.
All right.
I sound so stupid when I say that.
Oh. All right, guys. So here's what we're going to do. I'm sure Nick, have you seen Hardcore Justice?
Yes, I have.
Okay, I've seen Hardcore Justice, and I've deliberately not talked about it anywhere in public. I haven't tweeted, I haven't Facebooked, I haven't, if that's even an action, I haven't posted on the forums much about it. I've been trying to keep it all bottled inside to let it explode, and I think we should do that next. So, Patrick, the return of a commercial. Could you play the commercial and bring us back in with the old school ECW theme, and let's get her going and talk a little bit about Hardcore Justice.
Okay.
All right, guys.
WrestlingEpicenter.com is not only your home for the best wrestling talk shows on the internet today, it also houses the online merchandise store, Epicenter Emporium. Be sure and check out the merchandise link at WrestlingEpicenter.com for some of your favorite wrestling merchandise, including very rare wrestling matches on DVD. Check it out right now at WrestlingEpicenter.com or go to WrestlingEpicenter.com/store for more details.
Alrighty, guys, we're back here again with the interactive interview and WrestlingEpicenter.com. Just finished up with Tracy Brooks a few moments ago, and now it is time to discuss the event that everybody is talking about positively and negatively, and the feelings on it seem to be rather sharp as the people who perform
Heavily mixed.
Heavily mixed, but nobody is polite about it either. The ones who loved it are saying, "You're an asshole if you didn't love it." And the ones who didn't like it are saying, "You're an asshole if you like that show." So it's just, everybody is just being completely irrational and immature and just crapping on each other. And I figure we should join in on the party and bring our take on it all.
Okay, now, I'm going to start off right off the bat. I have not seen Hardcore Justice. If you watch my YouTube videos, I'm plugging myself. I'm Mick Foley here. I pretty much made it clear that I was not going to watch this show because I just wasn't, nothing against ECW, nothing against the workers. I just wasn't overly interested in seeing it. I'm in no mood for a nostalgia show, and that was just kind of my take. Read the results, though. It didn't sound horrible, but, again, I'm hearing, like, a bunch of mixed things. Like, no middle ground. You either loved it or you hated it.
Well, I'm going to break that mold, as I always do, and say that I thought it was okay. And I know that kind of goes against everything that you've heard from about this show, but we'll get into it, because there's parts of it that I really loved. And then there's parts of it that I really hated. And then there's parts of it that kind of almost made me want to freaking well cry. So let's get into it. Is that a good or a bad thing? No, it wasn't like happy tears. It was kind of it felt like, okay, the original One Night Stand in WWE in 2005. Everybody says that was, quote, closure. And maybe it was. But you didn't leave that show feeling like it was over. It was a good reunion show to make you feel energized and like you were right for having loved that product in the past. You were right for having believed in it, and for those who just finally got a chance to see it for the first time, it was a genuine representation, to some degree, of what that product was like. I say to some degree because they made way too much of a deal about people like Steve Austin, who had a very limited role in the original ECW. But to some degree... How about Rey Mysterio versus Psychosis? Yeah, I totally think ECW... Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, but they did a good job of presenting it in the ECW-style arena, an arena ECW had played before, and the fans were basically the guys who filled those ECW bingo halls and the Elks Lodge and things of that nature previously. They were the ECW faithful. Yeah. Now, when you watched Hardcore Justice, you were getting a TNA crowd celebrating the legacy, which is a phrase that I'm having a bigger and bigger problem with as time goes by, because just as legend got thrown around way too much at one point, so is legacy. Because what the hell is a legacy anyway? Can you have a legacy in a sport that gets shit on by the mainstream every day? Can you have a legacy there? I mean, I don't understand that.
Nick, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I just want to make sure James is done before I interrupt him.
All right, so we're gonna have a review here. So I wanted to find out Nick's take. What did you think of the show?
Well, I'm going to actually try to stay in the middle ground here. I think realistically, it was as good a show as you were going to get under this kind of circumstances. Maybe it could have been a little bit better, but I also think it could have been a hell of a lot worse. I think Patrick made a great point a while back where he said this was almost kind of like bragging rights last year, where it was just this weird, unnecessary interruption of the storyline, and that's kind of almost how I feel about this pay-per-view. It's nice, but I'll say this. I'm looking more forward to the Impact tomorrow when we go back to TNA and the storylines in TNA and the talent in TNA. I am too. I thought Sabu and Rob Van Dam, given the circumstance of Jerry Lynn getting hurt at the last second, and and Sabu being a guy that's kind of been hit or miss the last couple of years, had a really good match. Actually, for the first time in a while, popped for a Dudley's match, primarily because I love Joel Gertner.
Exactly. How great was Joel Gertner?
I'll say this. I think that the honest to God truth, the most interesting thing about the Dudleys in ECW at times was Joel Gertner, because you would be like, oh my God, this guy's going to say something. You're going to go, ooh, but you're going to laugh too.
Right.
A lot he comes up with are insane.
The thing is, Bubba Ray Dudley always takes responsibility. Brother Ray, sorry, I don't want to get sued. Brother Ray always takes responsibility for that crowd wanting to jump over the rail and pop him one. And without that interaction with Joel Gertner, which didn't happen fairly until they did turn heel, but without that interaction of such a cocky character that says whatever the hell he wants to say and nobody's going to stop him, without that, I don't honestly believe that they would have been the heel tag team that they seem to think that they were.
Yeah, well, I don't want to go too far in this, but somebody made a point saying that Shane Douglas kind of got over because he was finally allowed to just say what some people have been thinking for a while, where, a lot of people didn't like Ric Flair. But when he whipped Ric Flair, it was like, yeah, finally somebody's saying it. Well, Gertner was kind of a funnier version of that. He would make references to, celebrities and stuff like that, and he would talk about leaving so much hair on a woman's teeth she could knit a sweater.
Sorry, that's a good one.
Did you just say the line? Sorry, I just got a news update from my wife who said Ricky Steamboat is going to make a full recovery, but they have said that he's never going to wrestle again.
Well, some people were thinking he was going to be in the tag match at SummerSlam, but I was like, no way.
I think that was the original plan, where originally he was going to get attacked, and then that would be like the quote-unquote motivation for him to make another comeback. But I don't ever. I respect Ricky Steamboat, and he'll go down as one of the greatest of all time, but I don't want to see him wrestle again, especially after this.
There you go. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show, obviously. But Hardcore Justice, did you just say the line that Gertner used?
No, I used one from one of the previous ECW reunion shows.
Okay. On this one, he says, essentially it was a vulgar, borderline rape-induced shot at Lady Gaga because she promotes celibacy. And didn't make much sense.
Celibacy?
She promotes celibacy, apparently.
All right.
Hey.
Wait, the
if
woman
you can believe it.
S&M shop every single day of her life promotes celibacy?
Well, she's full of shit. She came up with a catchy little ditty, but she's full of shit. I mean, most of these pop stars are full of shit. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
I remember a time when Britney Spears used to say she was a virgin and was saving herself for marriage. Man, bullshit.
Yeah, while dancing on poles every night after a concert when she got shit-faced drunk. Yeah, she was really pure. That was the worst time in pop music history because everybody tried to pretend that they were these Disney characters. They were all prim and proper and pure, and you knew that half of them were gay, even though every teenage girl wanted to be with them, and the other half of them were drunken bums who were going to be homeless in 5 years.
Wait, have you seen Miley Cyrus video recently?
What's that again?
I'm just saying that Miley Cyrus took the exact same path.
There you go.
I'm not surprised.
Oh, man. So here we go. One of the first matches on the show was after Taz came out and basically cut a promo saying that borderline singing a Spice Girls song, saying that if you never got it, you're never going to get it. Which, it was like, okay, fine, I get that, fine. It just seemed half-hearted to me. And that's nothing on Taz. It's just like you're trying to sell something without saying the letters of what you're trying to say, and that's like trying to sell a blueberry muffin without ever calling it a blueberry muffin. You just can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, up next, first on the show, which had horrible lighting, by the way, and we'll get to that in just a sec, Kid Cash, Johnny Swinger, and Simon Diamond faced the FBI, and I don't remember the FBI ever actually being this incarnation, but it was Tracy Smothers, Little Guido Maritanto, and what did they call him?
Tony Luke.
Tony Luke, and he was Tony Mamaluke in TNA, so I'm not sure why the legal issue is on that one, but I don't remember them ever being the FBI together. I know that they were all members of that, but I'm pretty sure that Smothers had left by the time that Mamaluke came in.
Mm-hmm. And I think from what I hear, it was TNA was trying to hold off and not get, was trying to work around certain things, because since Tony Mamaluke worked for TNA the first time, he has gone back to WWE, so there might be an issue of WWE saying, well, if you want to work for us, you have to sign that contract because we own your name now. And you can't use it on a... Like, I don't know the exact situation, but from what the name changes or name tweaks in Tony Luke's case were kind of the TNA legal department trying to head off Jerry McGurvitz.
There you go. And there was no Big Don Tommy Rich on that one, which was kind of surprising because Tommy Rich was a big part of the original FBI because just like Tracy Smothers, he's not even remotely Italian, but... that was kind of the gimmick, that the only Italian one in the group was Little Guido.
Well, I mean, it originally started with J.T. Smith, who's black.
Black guy, yeah.
The joke was that he hit his head and he thought he was Italian.
Exactly.
Wow. Only in wrestling.
And the FBI got to win this match, which shocked me because in the entire ECW, I don't think they ever won a match. So they got to win a match on this one, and it was with a what did he call it? A kill switch, unprettier type move.
Christian finisher, ladies and gentlemen.
That's what we're trying to say. Kill switch, unprettier, whatever he's calling it now, is what he used to.
How did Kid Cash work? Because they're talking about bringing him back.
Yay! Let's bring back a guy. Oh no, let's bring back a guy who we had to fire because he went and did a shoot interview saying that the only reason a tag team is getting a push was because he was having a homoerotic relationship with one of our management people. Yeah, let's bring that guy back. Hey, let's hire Conan back, too. Why not? Let's just hire everybody who's going to do interviews shitting on our product.
Well, to answer Tyler's question, I thought Cash looked okay, at least enough that he deserved some kind of look or tryout the next night. So, and who knows? Maybe almost going to jail for check fraud and being on the independent circuit and having to work local level MMA events has kind of maybe finally helped Kid Cash grow up.
Yeah, maybe.
Grow up.
Grow up. Ah, there you go.
He's short.
Well, they could do kind of like Chris Jericho's old joke. He could come back and claim to be Man Cash.
Hey, speaking of Chris Jericho, that's the first guy that Kid Cash ripped off because, hey, I kind of look like Chris Jericho. My ring name is David Jericho. Oh, wait, Kid Rock came out. I look like him. I'm Kid Cash. Come up with something original, you little shithead.
His merchandise was what pissed me off.
Well, what are they going to merchandise now? They're going to just sell Rob Van Dam merchandise and call it Kid Cash merchandise? What?
They might have to. Like, wow, you don't have an original? Go ahead, Nick.
Well, didn't he originally rip off Ricky Morton? Because isn't he trained by Ricky Morton? And then at one point he was working under the name David Morton?
Probably. I didn't know that one, but I wouldn't be surprised given his track record. I mean, he was David Jericho because he started to look a little bit like Chris Jericho.
Well, anybody that grew out their hair and feathered it in freaking 1984 Bret Michaels style would look like Chris Jericho.
I like Chris Jericho.
Oh, so do I. Jericho has a look, but his look was basically, for the longest time, 80s hairband guy. He even admits it in his books. He said he's kind of a mix between Shawn Michaels and Stryper.
That's true, yeah. I can see that. Until his final years. Okay, so up next was a bizarre segment where the Blue Meanie gave a emotional speech, because when I think emotional speeches, I think of fat guys in belly shirts with blue hair. He gave an emotional speech about the history of the original ECW. Todd Gordon, who looked terrible, by the way, and I like Todd Gordon, but he looked terrible. And Pitbull Gary Wolf, who actually didn't look too bad, came and cut a promo as well. Now, what is it with this guy? Because he can actually work, and he's a good worker. Why is it that he always does bizarre backstage segments whenever there's an ECW reunion show? Because he did that with One Night Stand as well. And it's like, put him in the ring. Let him work. He's actually good.
Well, he wasn't there.
What's that again?
He wasn't there. Apparently he had something else to take care of.
Well, I mean, I can see it in Francine's case, but for a guy that isn't exactly getting booked up the wazoo, that considers himself a pro wrestler, you're offered a chance to be on pay-per-view, even if the pay-per-view gets bought by 10,000 or less people. You take that chance.
Well, who knows? Maybe they didn't offer him a match. Maybe they said, okay, we'll have you there, but we kind of got the card filled. Tommy has the guys who wants the card filled out already, so you can be in a back segment. And maybe you can walk someone to the ring.
There you go. Who knows?
Now,
and up next,
interview segments and promos. I have to ask. A lot of people I talked to said they were either boring or just seemed unnecessary.
Unnecessary, depressing, and boring, and everything in between. Put the camera in front of that deer in the headlights, Madison Rain, a little bit more. I didn't watch the original ECW, but it sure did seem good. I tell you what. Give me a break. She didn't know. Why interview somebody who didn't know? I believe Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin and them saying that when they were kids, which just makes me feel ancient, they loved it because it was different than everything else and all that, but I mean, I don't know. It just seemed weird to me that they put the camera on some people who clearly hadn't watched the original product, commenting on the original product. I don't know. That bothered me. That was one of the things that made me kind of really feel sick to my stomach. But one of the best parts of the show was a backstage segment, actually, and it involved Al Snow, Head, Stevie Richards, Nova, and the fat guy who they used as the Balloon Meanie. And my favorite part of it was Al was yelling at Head because Ed kept trying to chant ECW. And he was angry at Head for trying to make the people chant it. Then, when Nova walked in, and he didn't have the logo on his blue shirt, he said, "Oh, we can't even use the real shirt. We're so sued." That's what Al Snow mumbled under his breath. We're so sued. So that was one of the highlights of the night, which is either a positive or negative. I'm not sure. Anyway,
I'll be honest with you, James. Saying that was the highlight of the night is like calling Mrs. Doubtfire the funniest movie ever made.
It's a funny movie, but it's not the best part of the night. It's the best movie ever made, either.
Right, that's my point. Is that
Exactly.
that was a funny segment, but I wouldn't say that was the best part of the whole night.
Well, the rest of the night really didn't do it for me, man. It really didn't. And, like, for example, here, up next was C.W. Anderson against Too Cold Scorpio. Solid match. Too Cold looked amazing. I'd love to see that guy get a chance. But I lost so much respect for him, and unfortunately, because like I said several times on this show, when I've heard him speak, he is a drug addict. He a big pothead, which I guess with their champion being one, that shouldn't bother me. But it just bothered me when I heard him, because I thought that he was such a great worker and all that, and it just bothered me. But anyway, that was a good match. I will say that it was nothing that special. I loved the finish. That was a good. For those who didn't see the finish, it was a moonsault into a leg drop.
Wait, what?
He did a moonsault guillotine leg drop as his finish.
That doesn't sound physically possible.
He did it. It was like you know how you say when you do a backflip, you do a 360? He did I guess it would be let me do my math here, a 540 into a leg drop. It was pretty impressive, and for a guy who's got to be like 45, pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounds like who's that guy that did the shooting star press into the leg drop?
Jason Cross. That's the only move he had.
Yeah, it is, but looked good.
It was the only move he had, and he was going to do anything he could to get in there. And then there was also, or am I thinking of Mr. Jarrell Clark?
Jarrell Clark, oh yeah.
He was another guy. I don't do many moves, but I sure do got my finisher. Okay, great for you, man.
That's a sincere jobber.
Eh? Oh, man. So anyway, up next was Stevie Richards looking ridiculously ripped. I mean, Jesus Christ. In there with, he had Nova in his corner and the Fat Meanie, or whatever his name was. Not the real Meanie.
The Blue Tilly.
The Blue what?
The Blue Tilly. The joke was that it's Big Tilly, who's worked for TNA in the past, under a couple different gimmicks, usually as like a security guard, or he was in the short-lived Phi Delta Slam, which is basically Dusty Rhodes' drinking buddies. So I guess his name in that gimmick is Big Tilly, so they made it Blue Tilly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what it was. So that was funny, I guess, but I don't know. Anyway, he faced Just Incredible, who went under the name of PJ Polacco, and the crowd chanted Just Incredible, which I thought was very funny.
You know what this match proves to me? And I do respect the guy, but how ignorant Just Incredible, a.k.a. PJ Polacco, because not only does he have an amazing ability to keep losing the copyright to his name, but he was also stupid enough to have a shirt that had the ECW logo on it.
Yeah, he wore his old ECW Just Incredible shirt, which actually sold surprisingly well for an ECW shirt. He wore that to the ring. Yeah. And it has an ECW logo on it.
And apparently that's
going to get blurred out on the DVD.
Oh, I'm going to assume they're going to cut his entrance off altogether.
Oh, man. Well, anyway, Stevie Richards went over with the Stevie kick after kicking out of, I guess they called it a twisting tombstone piledriver. That's incredible. So he won it. Then there was a promo segment that I lovingly referred to as the pothead and the retard, and that was Rob Van Dam in a mumbling segment with a screaming Bill Alfonso. That was just bizarre. It went on entirely too long. I couldn't sit through it. I had to fast forward through it. I couldn't watch it.
I think you have to watch it because I don't think Alfonso screamed at all.
He mumbled and sounded like he had just swallowed a koala bear.
Well, that pretty much sounds like Bill Alfonso 90% of the time, if he ever tries to.
It was horrible. It was just, and they didn't talk about anything.
They didn't talk about things.
Yeah, who are we gonna wrestle? He's like, oh, I know that there's guys I gotta wrestle because I have unfinished business with. Yeah, Daddy, there really is some guy like that. Yeah, Daddy. It's, Jesus Christ, get to the point. You're going to wrestle your little high school friend who's a bald-headed freak now.
Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm serious. Watch, if you have a chance, watch this segment, and please, email either me or James and tell us which one is wrong, because I will say this. They did not mumble, and if you were actually paying attention to it, you had a clear idea of what was going on. Because they were going to say that he was going to wrestle Sabu, which was like no surprise to anybody, because it had been announced already on like TNA's website and Dixie Carter's posts, and it just seemed irrelevant. And they were trying to explain why he was picking Sabu, because as they even said in the promo, Rob Van Dam said, this isn't about unfinished business, this is about paying tribute to the whole legacy of the company, and that guy is Sabu, who we knew already, and everybody's like, well, they pulled something out of their hat. No, they already announced he was going to be there, so it's not like, oh, they got Sabu instead of Jerry Lynn. No, they put Sabu in Jerry Lynn's spot. It's different. It was just
the question, what were they going to do with him originally?
It probably something better, because I didn't have a desire to watch that match again, and that's not to shit on their old matches, because they had some good old matches, but I didn't like it. I didn't want to see it again, and I didn't particularly like the match anyway. Nothing against either guy. I actually don't mind Sabu, and Rob Van Dam has proven to be a huge asset to TNA. So, I don't know. I wasn't looking forward to it. All right, so what was next on the show? Actually, next was Francine. And Francine did a video. Yep, our buddy Francine was on there. Looking very good, actually. Looking very healthy. For those who have always said that she's too skinny, she's not fat at all. She just looks like she's healthy, not trying to be any model or anything anymore, which is actually makes her look very pretty. So I'm glad to see that. She was actually giving her baby a bottle on the video, and basically just said that this is the she couldn't be there because she's a mother now, and she couldn't tear herself away from her family. So there you go. That was. I'm glad they did it, but again, it was another feeling of similar to when I watched this backstage segments with the other guys talking about the impact of ECW and realizing just how long ago ECW was and just feeling how incomplete and insincere it was and irrelevant those segments were. Her segment wasn't irrelevant. It just kind of was,
Wow. If you're saying the other segments were irrelevant, Francine's was just as irrelevant. The difference
I'm defending it because I'm glad they included her. Other than that, that's it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm sure somewhere out there could be someone who's close to Gary Wolf saying the exact same thing about his segment, or someone that's close to Blue Meanie.
I'll tell you who's not close to anybody who's not going to be saying that they're glad they were part of the show, and that's Dawn Marie. Dawn Marie, not a part of the show, by the way, guys, which actually I was happy for her, and I think that has a lot to do with Karen Angle, and we won't get into that, but there you go.
Well, Kurt wasn't even there. And neither was...
Karen's not with Kurt.
Well, I don't think Jarrett was there either, was he?
No, but, well, I mean, you have to believe he was backstage. I mean, stand to reason.
From what I actually understand, the only TNA guys that were backstage were the Guns and Jesse Neal, and maybe a couple other people.
Really? See, that's surprising.
I heard Matt Morgan was there, too.
Yeah, Matt Morgan. Well, actually, it doesn't surprise me because a lot of the people in TNA probably look at it, oh, it's an extra day to spend with the family, or oh, it's an extra day I can take an independent booking, or oh, it's an extra day I can just do whatever the hell I want.
Or in Eric Bischoff's case, oh, it's a day I don't have to pay homage to a company that was a tenth my size and we're pretending was twice the size. Anyway, up next was Brother Runt, who dressed up entirely like LSD, Little Spike Dudley, which I thought was very cool, against Al Snow and Rhino. And Rhino got the Duke on that one after Brother Runt got the pin on Al Snow and then got gored out of his boots by Rhino. So now, Rhino was described as a current TNA superstar. Is he officially under contract?
Yeah.
Is he? Good.
He's never released. No.
He never was, so they just never used him for months. He never was actually released.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. Before this, Rhino was last week kind of seen was Rhino turned heel and was abusing Jesse Neal, and then he was feuding with guy I want to say Pope. Yeah. Basically, he was feuding with a bunch of the younger guys.
It was Pope, Morgan, Hernandez, and Suicide.
Yeah.
I think the last time we saw Rhino, before they started redoing the ECW stuff, I think the last time they used him was the January 4th Impact. He was one of the guys that got beat up backstage.
Oh, boy. So up next, by the way, guys, was another guy who didn't see the original ECW, Brutus Magnus, talking about ECW. Well, we didn't get it over in England, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Okay, great. After that was a South Philadelphia street fight between Team 3D and somebody named Cajones, which was Balls Mahoney. For some reason, they didn't call him Balls. I don't know why. I guess maybe
Tommy Mamaluke.
Probably the same reason, I guess, yeah. And Axel Rotten. Now, Axel Rotten actually showed up to this event, so kudos to him. He no-showed the original one-night stand show for some reason. Anyway, a good show, and at the end of it, the Gangsters came out, and that actually did surprise me, I got to be honest, because those guys, from what I understand, number one, hate each other, and number two, at one point, there was death threats being made between New Jack and Devon Dudley. Brother...
Holy shit.
Yeah, there was. Because New Jack kept insisting that Devon stole his gimmick.
Well, on the Forever Hardcore DVD, which was the documentary Jeremy Borash did, they had a section where they talked about the Dudleys, And when they got to New Jack, this is New Jack's statement. Bubba ain't shit. Devon ain't shit. They were doing all the shit I was doing when I was in the shit.
Okay.
So anyway, that was pretty cool. I liked seeing them come out, and they did the whole gimmick, and that was kind of cool, I guess. Bubba and Devon got the win over Cojones, and then that happened. I didn't enjoy the segment with SoCal Val because it just was stupid and not funny. For those who didn't see it, the Gangsters came out during a JB and SoCal Val segment just promoting the website, and it just was weird. It just was weird. I didn't like it. And it had nothing to do with anything other than the fact it just wasn't funny and it was meant to be.
Oh, they're taking notes from the WWE now?
I think so. Then Raven cut a bizarre promo talking about his story between him and Tommy Dreamer, which was actually, if you haven't seen any of their feud, in a nutshell, described the entire feud. So it was a very nicely done promo by Raven. Then, of course, special referee was Mick Foley. Tommy Dreamer faced Raven. Raven got the Duke on that. Beulah McGillicuddy got involved. And got to say, Raven actually impressed me in this match. He really looked good. So if there's guys going to get looks on this show, I think guys like Two Cold Scorpio got to get a look. Unfortunately, Kid Cash probably should get a look because I will admit he did look good. And Raven should probably get a look because he really put on a hell of an event on that show. That was a great performance.
And now this is a match I'm hearing. This is where a lot of the split is coming. Some people said it was the match of the night and said it was awesome. And some people said it was boring and they hated it.
It was boring, but it was good, if that makes any sense. The story has been told. The story has been told. It wasn't going to add anything to the legacy of that feud.
Right.
The match itself was good, but I didn't honestly give a crap of what happened because there was no drama involved. They tried to create the drama in it, but we've already seen it. The feud ended in... They tried to rekindle it in 99 and 2000, or ECW era, but the feud ended when Tommy finally beat Raven and sent Raven in a loser leaves match to WCW. That's when the feud ended. And anybody who watched the original ECWs is honestly not going to say that that was, you know, an important match. It just kind of felt, I don't know, nostalgia.
Well, here's the thing, though. You keep talking about how it didn't add anything new to that feud. The legacy, it's like, this was supposed to be a reunion show, a flashback show.
I guess. I mean, maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Maybe you're right, but it bothered me.
This wasn't going to be, nobody was going to look at this match afterwards, and then when they talk about the history of ECW, they're going to say, yeah, but if people are debating that feud, I think most people will look at it just as what happened in ECW. What else really are you going to put Tommy Dreamer and Raven in during a ECW reunion show they're both working?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. And going back to the promo from earlier that Rob Van Dam and Bill Alfonso cut, it would have made a hell of a lot more sense for them to have determined that the match that they should have had would have been the match that would have been the last pay-per-view main event of ECW, which would have been Rhino and RVD. Now, that match has lost its luster over the past decade because both guys kind of had their cake and eaten it, and they're on the decline, especially Rhino, unfortunately. But I don't know. The whole thing, I'll get onto that later. I'll get into that later, but I'm going to go in a minute anyway.
Well, the match, most people, when they announced they were going to do Hardcore Justice, the Impact Zone didn't break into chants of Rhino, Rhino, Rhino. Broke chants of Sabu, Sabu, Sabu. And in the weeks leading up to Hardcore Justice, a lot of different websites did polls saying, who are you most interested in seeing at Hardcore Justice? And I would say about 95% of those polls said Sabu. Always was number one in all those polls.
You're right, and that's what the crowd chanted. I mean, maybe I'm out of touch with that, but I guess so. I don't know. And so maybe I should stop looking at the show as what it didn't have and look at it what it did. And maybe I'd enjoy it a lot more. And speaking of Rob Van Dam, that was the next match, and RVD got the win. This was really a match that I just didn't care. And unfortunately, I felt that way about most of the main event matches. And that's not a good thing. Now, I'm going to leave you guys in just a minute to kind of wrap up and do what you want to do. But here is my... You're celebrating my
you're gone. Yes. I don't want you in the show anymore.
All right, I'm going to just say this. This is what I'm going to say. I didn't hate the show. I actually enjoyed it. But I left it kind of... Like I said, in 2005, One Night Stand, I left it feeling energized. Like, that was a great show. That's exactly as I remember it. When I left this show, it's not how I remembered it. The lighting sucked. It was fucking Smurfland. I don't get why they had blue lighting. Because the ECW ring was blue. So? They didn't have enough money to use fancy-ass blue lighting, number one. And number two, if they did, they wouldn't have because it looks stupid. So
I've seen screen caps of it, and it did look stupid.
It's horrible. So that pissed me off. And it just seemed to me that, like I said, when ECW One Night Stand took place, I really enjoyed what they brought to the table. It felt like an ECW show. This felt like an attempted tribute, which is what it was. But where it fell short was, I don't know. It just fell short because a lot of the key players weren't there, either because they've moved on to other things, because they weren't invited, because of anger with the current members of the TNA roster or management. There was a lot of guys that weren't there. Terry Funk, Shane Douglas, and Shane Douglas was somebody that was just through his own ignorance didn't go.
Well, I'm sorry, but was that really a bad thing considering the last time we saw Shane Douglas in a wrestling ring?
You could say that, but if you're going to do a tribute show to ECW, he's the guy you got to have. And I know why he didn't do it. Number one, he's got a problem with Flair, and number two, he didn't want any show that was a tribute to ECW to top the one that he put on. That's ultimately what it came down to. But at the end of the day, the show didn't leave me feeling energized. All it really made me feel was ECW was great, this show was okay, and please don't do another one because I really don't want to go through that again. It's just over. It's over. It's over, it's done, it's dusted. Please, let's put it away.
Well, I already made the point a couple weeks ago that TNA, a few years ago, this was back in 2006, they burned the ECW title and said, look, this company's dead, we're the new thing, we're the new direction. And I think that's the kind of attitude they need to have. I don't think constantly going back to the past is going to lead to a future. Again, that's just my opinion.
And my other concern, and I was going to mention this, and I haven't yet, my other concern with this is how deeply involved Dixie Carter is getting involved in this, and how hook, line, and sinker she's buying into the ECW greatness. Because there's talk that they're going to do ECW action figures without being able to use the phrase ECW. Bad idea. Bad idea.
Well, Jack says let's do it, and it makes TNA money. It's not a bad idea.
And it's not going to make anybody money because the 10,000 people that actually watched Hardcore TV in its original run are not going to go out and buy action figures because I'd hope that those teenagers that were teenagers then, 15 years ago, have moved on to something else.
Women.
Wait, no. I don't want to sound insulting here, James. I mean, this might sound cruel, but don't you have an office in your house that's filled with wrestling action figures?
Guilty.
Haven't you in the past even said that you really are hopeful that Savage whatever issues between Savage and the WWE cease to be, so that way you
and
can
I'm buying that figure the day it comes out. Absolutely.
Yeah. Then you go. Well, I hope all those people that watch Hardcore TV are no longer buying action figures.
No, I don't mean it that way. I don't mean still buying action figures. I mean are not still obsessed with this small regional company.
But
that said, if they released an action figure of Al Snow, maybe I'd buy that. If they released an action figure of Francine, maybe I'd buy that. But I wouldn't buy all of the... I mean, I just think that it's a bad idea for a company that can't use the trademark ECW to be releasing action figures in honor of that tribute. It's like releasing an action figure that looks kind of like Captain Kirk, but not being able to call him Captain Kirk. It doesn't make sense to me. It's just stupid.
It's kind of like, you know, you go in the supermarket, you see all those knockoff toys. Like when He-Man became really popular, there were dozens of knockoffs.
When Power Rangers came out, there was a dozen Power Ranger knockoffs, and there even were a lot of wrestling figures that had bald guys with blonde hair and mustaches that were like ring wrestlers, and they weren't labeled as Hulk Hogan. You know, there's always knockoffs, and that's what that would seem like to me.
So what you're saying, there were like a bunch of Lucky Cannon action figures?
There you go. I don't understand the reference, but I'll go for it.
Lucky Cannon was one of the rookies this year on NXT, and I swear to God, he looks like the guy that gets cast as the jobber every time a sitcom wants to do a wrestling-related plot.
Oh, lucky him.
Yeah, seriously, that's how he looks. He looks like the guy that on, like, the episode of Married with Children when King Kong Bundy's on there.
By the way, guys, take it easy. I'm going to jump off, okay?
All right, later, man. Take it easy. All right, that was James Walsh, the Lord Master of this show, and Nick, you and I are ruling this shit now.
Yes. So, we actually got a lot to talk about in apparently very little time. We've got SummerSlam this Sunday. We have, even though we just talked a lot about TNA, we have TNA, a very special TNA Impact tomorrow. That one guy, Mike Johnson at PW Insider, was there, and he actually said, and this is a quote from him, it's the best episode of Impact TNA has ever filmed.
Well, that's saying a lot, because I'll be honest, if I had to pick a favorite episode of Impact this year, it would be the one where RVD won the title. I thought that was an excellent show. But, yeah, I would preview the whole effing show, but like you said, it's already been taped, so I think a lot of the people listening to us have already read the spoilers. But yeah, the card looks fantastic. I've deliberately avoided spoilers on one match in particular because I really want to see it.
Well, I would like to review it next week, like when we actually can air it and see it and review what goes down, because I'll say this. The match you're probably avoiding, people are saying was match of the year.
I'm hearing that, yeah. Beer Money versus Motor City Machine Guns. If you need a reason to tune into Impact this week, do it for the Beer Money Motor City Machine Guns match, because I guarantee you it will be one hell of a match. And from what I'm hearing, it was. Right.
And we actually have the person that was a part of what a lot of people consider the match of the year before that, is apparently leaving ROH and going to the WWE.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I heard about that. Tyler Black.
Yeah. By the way, the current ROH World Champion has reportedly signed a deal to join the WWE's developmental territory, and there's actually a rumor, or at least being thrown around, the possibility he would appear on a third season of NXT if that happens.
Well, it's not going to happen because aren't they dropping NXT once SmackDown goes to Sci-Fi?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, though. They said that in 3 weeks we'll find out who wins Season 2.
Oh, okay.
And what appears to happen is, from what this is, and take all this always with a grain of salt, but from what I hear, the current plan is to fit a third season of NXT in 4 men and 4 divas. I'm just going to say this, why you would do divas when the so-called pro divas can't work worth a lick half the time? I don't know.
Well, it depends on which divas are the pros. Like, you know, Gail, Melina, Beth Phoenix.
You know it's going to be Michelle, Layla, Kelly, probably the Bella twins, Marie.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. That's just what we need. We need to hear Maurice talk about Tyler Black. He has impressive skills, but he has very plain look.
Whatever. But
or we don't want to be.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of Tyler Black, I'm happy for him because he's, if he makes it to WWE and he gets through the developmental system, he'll be getting a pretty good paycheck. So, I mean, that's pretty much all you can hope for at this point. But that is a huge blow to Ring of Honor to lose their champion. And Tyler Black, I've seen him. He's a pretty damn good talent. Just throwing that out there. Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't think WWE is going to use him correctly. I have no reason to believe that they will, and I don't know. I think he's just going to be another one of those guys that never goes anywhere. But
I think he'll kind of be similar to Paul London or Brian Kendrick, where he might get little scraps here and there. He might get like a tag title run. He might get, if he's really lucky, he might get like a feud for the IC title or something. But for the most part, he'll be the guy that gets crushed by the Great Khali.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, even somebody like CM Punk, who last year turned into the best guy in the business, in my opinion, they flushed him down the drain. He was World Heavyweight Champion, he was King of the World, and they threw him down for no reason. And so I have no reason to believe that they're going to use Tyler Black correctly.
Right. Speaking of former world champions, Jack Swagger must still be stuck in the Gulf of Mexico.
Why do you say that?
He didn't appear on SmackDown last week.
Oh.
Which, I mean,
wow, okay.
Yeah. So that was just a joke. But, I kind of agree with you. He if they're going to drop Punk, dead cold like that, let's just look at where CM Punk was last time, this time. He was, last year at this time, he was the hottest figure and the hottest feud in wrestling, about to regain the world title. This year, he's feuding with Big and Slow.
In a 3-on-1 handicap match, which, by the way, and I assume we're going to preview SummerSlam, this is a horrible card. And it's not even the full card yet. We've only got 5 matches, and this card is shit.
Yeah, but let's just get it over with. Let's make it like a bandage, and let's just rip it off. Let's go into the SummerSlam preview.
Oh, okay, let's start. Divas Championship, Alicia Fox versus Melina, go.
Okay, here's my point. On Monday, Alicia came within an eyelash of dropping Melina on her head and breaking her neck and putting her out again. Why the hell this woman is even in the ring, much less holding a championship, is beyond me. The match sucked on Monday. People aren't going to give a rat's ass about it at a major pay-per-view. You're going to see the Staples Center clear out, and everyone's going to make a run for the pisser or the concession stand or just sit on their hands for like 3 minutes. What they should do is change the title at a house show, have Melina turn heel and feud with Natalya.
Yeah, I mean, Natalya, she's another one. She's another very talented girl, and they use her as a valet, so what do you want? I saw a video online of some Alicia Fox quote-unquote highlights. She is a very dangerous worker. Like, she has come close to hitting Mickey in a bad way with her axe kick. I saw a clip where she almost killed Gail with some of her moves. I was like, dude, this chick, I'm shocked that she hasn't hurt anybody yet with the way she executes some of her moves.
You know what irritates me? There are people out there that defend her. And there are people online that actually, she blew like an axe kick on Gail Kim once, and somebody posted, quote, well, that's Gail's fault because she didn't take it right. Like, hello, it's an axe kick. You bend over and let someone kick you in the back of the head. It's not a move where you really are flying at all.
Yeah, exactly. So my hope would be here, again, the women's division in WWE is just right now, but if you're going to have a title, you might as well put it on the girl that's the best worker, and right now that's Melina. And if we're up to me, Melina wins the title, no doubt.
Yeah, I'll say this. Melina's a good worker, although she does get hurt pretty often. And I'm bored with her as a face. She needs to go back to being the bitchy Hollywood scratch her eyes out heel she was when she first came in to WWE main roster. I want to see her go back to that gimmick. So I'm hoping that Melina wins and then she turns heel.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next match. Oh, this gem right here. The Big Show in a 3-on-1 handicap match against the Straight Edge Society, CM Punk, Joey Mercury, and Luke Gallows. Okay, my problem with this match, if Big Show wins, you just buried your top heel stable on SmackDown. If Punk's crew wins, it doesn't matter because it's 3 people that beat 1, so who gives a shit?
I mean, that's just it. This feud to me makes no sense. I mean, pretty much, I mean, this whole feud, it's like, once again, they give something to an older wrestler that they could have given to a younger guy to get him over. Like, they let Big Show pull off Punk's mask and show the world he was bald. Couldn't that have been something you give to some young wrestler? He does that, and then he starts to deal with the straight edge society and gets over because, wow, he's the guy that, pulled off that mask, and he beat Luke Gallows, and he beat Joey Mercury, and then, CM Punk came back, and he beat CM Punk, he beat the former world champion. No, let's just give it to Big Show.
Exactly. And, CM Punk, with him, if WWE has an opportunity to humiliate him, they're going to take it. So I'm picking Big Show to win this match.
Yeah, I'm picking Big Show to win. God. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, last year CM Punk was world champion. Then he got chokeslammed by The Undertaker, and it all started to go downhill. Yeah, well, apparently he made a bad comment about Cena Boy, and that screwed his whole career. But, okay, moving right along. Oh, my God, I forgot how bad this is. World Heavyweight title, Kane versus Rey Mysterio. Who cares? It's Mighty Midget versus Big Red Slug. The storyline into this now is that Kane is claiming that Undertaker awoken and told him the name of the man that attacked him. It was Rey Mysterio. And now Rey Mysterio, being Captain Obvious, is telling us it had to be Kane. Oh, yeah. And by the way, I said this in one of my YouTube videos, but my God. So Rey's the one that did it. Yes, a guy who is literally half the Undertaker's size beat him up so badly that he put him in a coma. Right. Wow. And Taker's probably going to show up at the pay-per-view. Don't care, but whatever. Kane will retain and set up that classic world title match. Well, actually, from what I understand, Rey would win because they unveiled the Night of Champions poster, and he's on there holding the world title. So maybe what will happen will be the lights will go dark. They'll come back on, and Kane will be down. Rey will hit something off the top. 1, 2, 3. And then, or, the bell will toll. Which, by the way, when a bell tolls, it's basically saying boring. Yeah, but again, so we're going to get Undertaker versus Kane again, whether it's for the world title or not. And I got, that feud was over in 98. And they've stretched it out. They've done it so many times. Like, they did it again in 99. They did it again in 2000. They did it again in 2004. They had a few more matches in like 07 or 08, I think. It's over. No one cares. Exactly. There's not even an excuse to, it's like they're saying, did he just defend the Tommy Dreamer Raven match? Well, the excuse there is it was a reunion show. This isn't a reunion show. This is something that they've already done a million times. We did it. Kane hates his brother. How many times can we retread that storyline? Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. But, next up, best match on the show. Sheamus defending the WWE title against Randy Orton. Right. If anyone interferes in the match, they will be suspended. If Randy Orton loses, he cannot get a rematch. Right. So here's one of two things I think is going to happen. I'm thinking that since no one can interfere before the match, someone might attack Orton before the match. And then technically, they didn't interfere in the match itself. So what I would like to see happen is I'd like to see Orton hit the RKO and win, and then Sheamus hits him with the big boot, and then we hear I came to play. Miz rushes out. Miz wins the title. But I know that's not going to happen. So I'm going to pick Sheamus to actually retain. And then I think Sheamus is going to retain too because he's going to face Triple H when Triple H comes back. You know what? I would not be surprised if like after the match we immediately hear it's all about the game and Triple H comes down, and hits him with a sledgehammer, lays him out, pedigree, stands up, holds the WWE title, poses, and then locked out. We can have Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler, lose it.
All right, and then this next match, which I'm pretty sure will be the main event, Team WWE, John Cena, John Morrison, R-Truth, Bret Hart, Edge, Chris Jericho, and the mystery partner to be determined versus the Nexus, Wade Barrett, David Otunga, Justin Gabriel, Heath Slater, Darren Young, Skip Sheffield, and Michael Tarver. Is this an elimination match?
Yeah, this is an elimination match. I'm going to say this. One of the things we talk about a lot is what would be the more interesting thing to do. Well, on Monday, what they made sure to do was show Team WWE was united, and then they could run off the Nexus. So that's basically what it is. I now think WWE will win this, and it will probably be Cena rallying back from 4-on-1.
No, because Bret's not going to take a pin. That's the thing. It'll be Bret and Cena will probably be your sole survivors.
Yeah. By the way, I have a new theory on Bret Hart.
Go ahead.
I think he actually died. And they covered it up. And we're getting a fake Shemp in the later Three Stooges short situations where after Shemp died, they started putting actors in heavy makeup and beards and hair to cover that Shemp was dead. I think that's what's going on. I think Bret Hart died up in Canada, and the WWE paid a bunch of money to his family, and now we have this guy in heavy makeup walking around as Bret Hart. And that explains why Bret Hart, man, who was always so well-respected, is willing to humiliate himself in these god-awful matches that suck and ruin his own legacy.
Well, let's look at the two teams. WWE's team isn't even complete yet. I guess Edge and Jericho are back on. I have no interest in seeing Bret Hart wrestle. They got rid of Khali, which is good. R-Truth in the main event. Okay, whatever. But then you have the NXT guys. Most of them are very young, very green, and don't belong in a main event spot. That would be David Otunga, Skip Sheffield, Darren Young, Michael Tarver, Heath Slater probably. A lot of these guys just aren't very good to begin with, and I'm just not interested.
Well, here's the thing. When NXT started, that very first night, I said, this will be okay because Barrett's pretty good, and all else fails, Bryan Danielson can do anything. Well, Bryan Danielson's long gone. And I like Wade Barrett, but he's not going to be the Bryan Danielson who can carry any match and make it respectable. Yeah. I think this is just a recipe for disaster. This match can't be good. It's just, the math is just too basic. You have R-Truth, you have John Morrison, who is good in the ring, but the fans don't care about him anymore. They've booked him so poorly lately that fans really don't care about him. He's on this half-hearted push on Raw. Bret Hart, who, just is having these horrible matches where he can't bump, and, he won't take pins, and then you have, Cena, who's not that good, and like you said, we have a whole team of green guys.
Yeah, it's a mess. And what really strikes me about this match, and our buddy Eric, my buddy Eric, mentioned this, there's nothing on the line here. If Nexus wins, what happens?
That's actually a good point, where you're right. If there was an official stipulation, they keep saying, if Nexus wins, they take over. No, they don't. Is there some contract here they didn't make us aware of where if Nexus wins, they're not, they run Raw? There is nothing on the line here. It's just these guys fighting it out. Maybe that would have been a way to spice it up a little if they would have said, if Nexus wins, it takes control of the GM's office or something. But
they're never going to reveal, by the way.
Oh, they're going to reveal it at some point, and then a lot of idiots are going to be disappointed.
Because I don't care who it is. I don't even care who it is.
Yeah. But Patrick, I swear to God, I go on Twitter, and people are either falling for the lines that they're slipping in the emails, if you like that, give me a hell yeah. Everybody thought it was Austin. And I cannot tell you how many people are convinced it's The Rock. There's these little 13, 12-year-old people out there that are convinced The Rock's coming back. I will say this right now. Ladies and gentlemen, The Rock will never wrestle again. The Rock will never take place in a major wrestling storyline again. He might show up to do interviews and talk about the company and appear at the Hall of Fame and stuff, but he will never take place in a storyline again because he makes too much money as an actor to risk that. The Rock is not coming back. It's time to accept that. The Rock has retired. Okay?
Yeah. He's and you know what? And I love The Rock, and I think he's great, and if he were to come back, I would probably get interested, but I'm like, part of me is like, you know what? Why do we have to keep going back to the past to save the future? I mean, oh, we'll just bring The Rock back, and that'll fix everything. No, it won't. No, it won't. Because, number one, if they're going to bring Rock into this PG environment, he's going to suck. Because we saw it with Austin. Austin in the PG WWE heavily scripted environment was very boring. And he wasn't Austin anymore, and I don't want to see that happen to Rock.
Exactly, and here's the thing. I love Rock too. But, like I said, it's time to face facts. He's an actor now. He's moved on. It's like this. I'm a huge St. Louis Rams fan. All right? And my team sucks right now. My team I'm not thinking tomorrow Kurt Warner's going to show up with Marshall Faulk and save the day. I have to move on. I have to hope that Sam Bradford gets better. I have to hope that they finally get a line that can let Steven Jackson run. I can't sit there and hope and pray that somehow the Super Bowl winning team is going to be reassembled.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. I mean, it's like this. I mean, I'll use your favorite team as more of a reference. It's like the Giants had a great run with Bill Sims. But they shouldn't bring Bill Sims back and have him start that Super Bowl that they won over the Patriots.
Right. And actually, the year we won the Super Bowl, we had just lost Tiki Barber, who everybody said was our best offensive weapon. And we didn't sit around and cry about it. The team didn't, go, oh, well, that's it. We're screwed. We lost Tiki. No, you try to find a way to fill the void, make it work, and if you work hard enough, it can pay off.
Exactly. Of course, I'm still convinced that Tom Brady did let you guys have that one out of respect to his friend Peyton, because Peyton probably called him a week before the game, was like, look, Tom, my brother needs this. He's not that good of a quarterback. He didn't get the same games I got. He's got to win this Super Bowl to guarantee him a job. Please, Tom. And because Tom Brady's the greatest human being that ever lived, he let that happen. So you're welcome.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure. All right.
You know I'm kidding.
All right, I think we've actually gone over the time limit here, so is there anything you want to say before we go?
Let's just see. Talked about
SummerSlam is shit.
Well, here's the thing. We talked about a little bit with Tyler Black. ROH might actually be losing a couple of other guys they're kind of key on. Because
Roderick Strong got a tryout with TNA, didn't he?
Yeah, which is kind of weird given their histories, but maybe it's the same thing with Kid Cash. Years later, things can work out.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, and but here's the thing: they lose Roderick Strong, who, for better or worse, they push as a top guy in ROH. They're losing Tyler Black if he has time with the WWE, and Davey Richards has said he's retiring. So ROH might be in some real trouble because, I'll be honest, their roster's a lot thinner than it used to be, and if they lose these three guys, they're really going to have to scramble to find somebody new.
Yeah, I know. I think their tag division is great. Their tag division is fine, but everything else, they need to do some filling out.
Well, if they lose Davey Richards, they lose the American Wolves, and the Wolves are not the dominant team they were at this time last year, because now both guys are kind of moving into a singles push, why they still kind of team. But, you lose the Wolves, I mean, that's kind of that's a blow to that division. I mean, it's not the biggest blow, but, like I said, And here's the thing, a lot of people I think are it's almost kind of like The Rock, where I think there are a lot of ROH fans that are just kind of expecting Danielson to come back. So far, we haven't heard anything. Even the remotest rumbling that they're in contact with. Well, we've heard that they've had contact, but we haven't heard anything official.
First of all, I think Danielson's going to go back to WWE. I think, first of all, I think TNA they're fools that they haven't called him yet. They absolutely should try to get him if they can. But I think he'll go back to WWE. I think the incident that happened there was just something that WWE felt like they had to do for whatever reason, and they'll bring him back once it's cooled over.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there is something I want to talk about a little bit. There was today. The big story came out yesterday. Supposedly, Hulk Hogan opened up a Twitter.
Yeah.
Then it came out. Then it came out that it wasn't really him. But now the guy's claiming he's a TNA wrestler who's pissed off and he's being anonymous because he wants to vent his frustrations about the company. And a lot of people are believing this guy. I'm just going to say this, ladies and gentlemen. If he lied about being Hulk Hogan, kind of shows he's a liar. So,
well, didn't he post today that's like, oh, I'm leaving TNA, brother?
Yeah, that's what kind of started, where he posted on leaving TNA, and people are making a big deal out of it, saying, oh, well, he fooled Bubba the Love Sponge. Well, anyone could fool Bubba the Love Sponge. I don't care who the hell you are. And he fooled Eric Bischoff. Well, yeah, okay, but stuff like that does happen occasionally. I remember, this might be on a lower level, but I remember a while back someone was impersonating Sarita. And guess what? A bunch of the knockouts added her to their following list because they thought Sarita was on Twitter. So, this stuff does happen, and I'm just saying that you can't take word for word that this guy is actually who he claims to be. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and at some point we're going to find out who this guy is, but I'm just saying, we always say with a certain extent, take things with a grain of salt. People need to start taking what this guy's saying with a grain of salt because he sounds, to a certain extent, like every pissed-off internet mark out there that seems to think TNA sucks.
Personally, I think Hogan and Bischoff are going after Bound for Glory. I think that's going to be, the end for them. We'll see, but, yeah, it sounds like he's just some dude trying to stir shit and get his jollies off of doing that.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. Sometime we're going to have a conversation when James is on the line. Because I'll be honest, if you look at the Hulk Hogan era in TNA, you have to classify it as a failure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He was supposed to come in, and his presence was supposed to generate enough interest in large TNA fan base. They made the move to Monday nights. That failed. They lost over half their audience, and they've been in rebuilding mode ever since.
Right.
Anybody will tell you that the writing's not as good as it was second half of 2009 when the show was actually getting really good. It's just, and Hogan can't really do anything. He can't wrestle anymore. He just kind of shows up on Impact once in a while and goes, hey, you guys are doing great, brother. We're going to take TNA to a whole nother level. Right. And that's it. So what does he bring to the product at this point?
Right, and here's the thing. One thing that I think people have to look at is the hardcore TNA fans, and I don't even mean guys like you and James. I mean people like me that are watching it every week and are doing websites dedicated to TNA and all this stuff and talking about how much they love, AJ and how much they love Beer Money. They don't like Hogan. And that's dangerous when your core audience, however big or small it is, doesn't like the guy that everyone tries to make is the biggest deal in the company. And look, I respect Hogan, but if he has a chance to go back in time and eliminate one thing from the past year, I would pick signing Hogan. Because he's really he brought the Nasty Boys along too. So, I can't, if James is still alive, he'd be trying to argue something and he'd be throwing certain numbers in my face, which is true, but here's the thing. Hogan didn't help the world take off, and if anything, they've probably spent a lot more money than they should have spent on something that never worked out. So, look,
Go ahead.
This week, ladies and gentlemen, when James Walsh will be joined by 2 new guest hosts. I'm kidding.
No, if he didn't fire Eric, he's not going to fire either of us.
I know.
If he didn't fire Matt Hoover, I mean, my God, like we talk over and over about how much Matt Hoover sucked, but you know, James never actually got rid of him. Hoover only left because he stormed off.
Well, I mean, I won't say this, but I actually wasn't like in the know when Hoover was around. If anything, I'm kind of the youngest, the newest one in the circle of trust. Because, like, I kind of think I got my spot to a certain extent because a lot of other guys had some type of falling out with James or Kathy.
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah, James is he's an interesting personality, and if you're not willing to kind of, how do I want to phrase this? He's kind of an extreme dude. A very nice guy, very cool dude, and I like working with him and stuff. But he says some things that are a little extreme, and if he gets under your skin, it can lead to some very nasty discussions. But fortunately, I'm a nice guy.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, Eric Clancy's the same way. I said this to Eric once, and he got kind of pissed off at me. I said, you and James are two sides of the same coin. And I could tell he genuinely was hurt when I said that.
Well, they kind of are.
He said this to me. He goes, "That is the worst thing you have ever said to me."
I mean, ideologically they're not, and politically they're certainly not. But how they present their opinions and stuff, it's the same thing.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant, really. It's not that they have the same ideas, but they're basically James is Republican version of Eric, and Eric's the Democratic version of James.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, a lot of people that are liberal, they hate Bill O'Reilly, and a lot of people that are conservative, they hate Keith Olbermann. Personally, when I watch them, it's like, dude, I think they're the same person. They're both obnoxious, and they're both egotistical, and they both piss me off. Yeah, so, I mean, that's kind of what I meant. And then Eric kind of had more. Well, for those that don't know, I mean, Eric kind of has his own little side show, which I was appearing on for a while, and then I stopped, and I told him to take my name off. And then somehow my name reappeared on the site, and I actually text messaged him telling him, take my name off it, and he kind of, I don't know, just kind of, things got kind of heated from there, or at least on my side. Yeah, but, yeah, we're just babbling at this point. Is there anything else we want to talk about wrestling-related before we go? Because I know you probably have to head off to work. Yeah, but I think we should just wrap it up with me just saying, ladies and gentlemen, the most disappointing team in the NFL this year will be the New York Giants, who finished 0-16. And you can't see it, but I'm flipping a middle finger right in front of the computer screen, which does no good, but whatever. Well, you could go to, like, my Twitter or my Facebook and look up my picture and flip me off that way. I might do that. I'll do that right now, right after we get off the line. No. And you know what I actually do? I think the Giants will have an okay year, but I think they're kind of screwed in terms of getting into the playoffs. It's going to be tough. So a lot of the NFC teams are very good. I don't like to count them out, but I'm like, as much as it pains me to say it, the Cowboys are very good. The Redskins, I think, got a shot in the arm with Shanahan and possibly McNabb. And the Eagles they got Andy Reid, and they're usually a very good team. So they're tough pretty much no matter what. Also, the team I actually think will be the most difficult thing will be the Jets, just because I think there's so many high expectations for them. I don't think they're going to live up to them. I think they're a good team. We'll see how they do. I think because they made it to a championship game last year, people are kind of thinking, they're going to be fantastic. It's like, well, a lot of teams have a letdown factor. Right. I think last year there's always a situation where sometimes you catch people by surprise with how good you are, and I think now they've been able to adjust to that. Right. Especially if Darrelle Revis doesn't play. So, alrighty, I've actually got to go, so, yeah. Alrighty. So, for anyone, is there anything you want to say before? Yeah, go ahead. Well, for anyone that's still listening, or is listening to this afterwards,
Thanks for joining us on the Wrestling Epicenter interactive interview. We'll see you next week.
Alrighty. Okay. Nick Nola's just left the line. I am by myself. So, yes, thank you, everybody, for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to Tracy Brooks for coming on the show with us. Very fun interview. Nice girl. And thank you to James for setting everything up and trying to change the format a little bit. We're gonna make some changes over the next few weeks. So, hope everything turns out well and you hope you enjoy it. And be sure to tune in next week. Good night, everybody.